Happy Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, people.
Evening, everyone.
Our presenter is somebody that's been calling for around 55 years. I've known him for 83 years. Um, we'll just leave it at that. Um, and it's not my twin brother, but um, the talk I'm going to do today is something that, well, it's about doll or checker moving shortcuts. Um, I think we all use, instead of doing head square through, instead of walking everybody through, we just sort of do a quarter out for them. And at one point, I found I was doing lots and lots of these when I was writing choreo for choreo breakdown and checking the sequences before computers. And I was at doing a presentation someplace, and they gave me an hour to do something, and I ran out of material well before the hour was up. So I said, well, you guys might be interested in this. And I pulled out my list and started showing shortcuts. And to my amazement, people were extremely interested in them. So I made a neater handout of these um, and have given the presentation a few times already. So hopefully you guys will be entertained by this also. Zoom allows me to use two cameras. Just a word of warning or what have you. This is not an arrow. Think of these as arms. This is the way I choose to have my dolls. Lately, I've been doing the males as squares because it's not quite as confusing, but these guys are too big. And also, you know, I think Jay King started this because he thought of them as half a square and half a circle because it was easier and faster for him to write. And I thought of them, I came up independently with this because I think of them as arms. And further, when I create dolls, I make it so that when they're holding hands like this, they're a normal couple. And when they're not holding hands, they're half sashayed. It just helps to see it more quickly because I can't always recognize that. And on the back side, there's nothing. On the back side of these new ones, there's nothing. There's something because these are used for mental image. But we're digressing, as I've been known to do. So a lot of people say that it's really good to move people like on a head square through all the different movements of it. And I don't know how to do that. That's pretty rough. But so I have this. Oh, by the way, there's no need to take notes if you want to get the handout that I will be, or maybe two handouts that I will be sending to Dan and he will be making available to people. But I think as we know, square through, you can just do a quarter out. And pretty simple thing, everybody knows that. Square through, I got to remember that I'm doing this and you can't see what's going on. Square through 3/4 is basically the couple's turn around. Or California twirl or partner trade. By the way, one of the things I like about these dolls is that they're square and I can grab them in lines or what, and they're fairly thick, so I can grab them in lines and stuff like that. It makes it easier moving around and easier aligning them. And when I'm in waves, you actually can see a wave kind of thing here, which is why I like using arms. So the first few are going to be pretty obvious. The next few, and after that, we'll get to some that still amaze me. And not only is it a good way to move dolls around, but it really gives you a better feel of what's going on in the choreography. We all know ladies chain. We don't have to do the courtesy turn. We just exchange the ladies. I'll bring them back. We probably all know that flutter wheel. We don't have to go through the full motions. It's just exchanging the men. So a flutter wheel just exchanges them in. Big deal. I mean, it is a big deal, but it's still handy to know, and it's not probably surprising to too many of you. Reverse flutter wheel just exchanges the women, just like a lady's chain. Let's get us into head square through, touch a quarter. So a scoot back for these guys is basically just a trade. And I think the way I have it explained is thinking of a wave, ends and adjacent centers trade. But that's if you've got a wave. Looking at these things I was reading last night, it's not a big deal. So again, scoot back is basically a trade. Square your set, lead to the right and circle to a line. I'm saying slide right and unbend the line. I guess these and just unbend the line. That's circle to a line. Lead right and circle to a line anyway. Pretty obvious, make partner lines. Page 2. Chain down the line. Let's go here. Let's lead right, veer left. Chain down the line is basically centers trade and bend the line. You don't have to do the courtesy turn. Centers trade, bend the line. Here's one that might not be as obvious to all of you. Let's unsweep a quarter and step to waves. But I find very convenient with dolls. Is recycle. Recycle is ends cross fold and centers step back to make couples. Ends cross fold, cross fold, and push them into facing couples. Ends cross fold and push them into facing couples. That's a recycle and saves a lot of time. And basically what you'll note, with right hand waves, yeah, is the women don't move. They just step back. They stay where they are. Ends cross fold, step to wave. The women don't move. Ends cross fold and push them back. This is one that I started using pretty early and saves me a lot of time, and I think is a little insightful that some people don't see. On a swing through from facing couples, veer to the right and the ends turn back. Veer to the right and the ends turn back. It's a lot easier than step to a wave, trade, trade. It also gives you a feel, I'm going to undo it. It also gives you a feel that this couple basically moves over. Come on, guy. Basically moves over here. But the ends turn back. That's a swing through. That's one that I use a lot. If I use my dolls a lot. Spin chain through. This is gives you a feel for what spin chain through does. Let's square our sets again so we might be able to see where people are. Come on, guys, you can do this. By the way, I've been thinking, I don't know how long this is going to take.
Can you put the heads up a couple of, like a centimeter?
Thank you.
Ah, there you go. Thank you.
That's on my second screen, and I forget to look sometimes. Yeah, remind me if it goes off screen. I'm not sure how much discussion we're going to have about this after, but if you see something that you have a question or an additional comment on when I do these, please interrupt. Or if I go off the dance screen again. we're going to do a spin chain through. And it's interesting to see what that does. If we do a head square through and step to a wave, still on the dance floor. A spin chain through is basically take the end that's facing in and exchange them, and then swing through. Out of a wave, veer to the right, ends turn back. That's what a spin chain through is. So it exchanges one person from each wave to the other, and then does a swing through kind of thing. Square your set. This one's probably kind of obvious, but let's take a look at it anyway. I did a star through, double pass through, centers in. Instead of working my way through a cast off, whoops, we're getting off the dance floor here again. Instead of working my way through a cast off 3/4, it's just a cast back 1/4. A lot easier to do. Or it's a bend the line if you want to think of it that way. But cast backwards 1/4, and I'll tell you why we're thinking of that. So cast off 3/4 is basically cast backwards 1/4. Let's go back. Head square through, step to a wave. If I have waves here, wavy lines. If I do a cast off 3/4 from here, it's basically a cast backwards 1/4. Same thing. Easier to remember that way. I have these broken down into mainstream or plus and mainstream, and then, basic and plus. Try again, Beck. Basic and mainstream all mixed together under the category of mainstream. Then plus, then one A1 call and a couple of A2 calls. But let's jump ahead to one plus call because I need that for this mainstream call. I'm going to have these guys step to a wave. On the call fan the top, and it used to be in the mainstream category. That's pretty simple. You just do that. Ends move up 1/4, centers cast 3/4, or cast backwards 1/4. So fan the top is a pretty easy one to do. So the call spin the top, I have it written down as scoot back, but basically ends and centers trade, and then fan the top. Let's go back. Back. So spin the top from a wave. Scoot back if necessary, but ends and adjacent centers trade, and moving in the same direction, just fan the top, turn the whole thing. Pretty easy to do. It's a lot easier than casting these 3/4 one way and what have you. Any comments, questions so far? You're still here. That's interesting. Let's back on the floor here. So if I'm in, happen to be partner lines, if I'm going to do a pass through and wheel and deal, it's not that hard to do, but it's easier to do with just slide them together, putting the right hand couple in the lead. And in 180 if you're worried about geometric equivalent, but not have to. Let's go back, and there's even an easier way. Assume a left-handed two-face line and veer left. Whoops. Yeah, that's right. Assume a left-handed two-face line. In other words, assume this and veer left and then bring these guys back. You look confused, Helen. Whoops. Partner lines. Instead of doing a pass-through wheel and deal, I'm just going to do a slide them together with the right couple in front.
And this works because you're not worried about the geometric.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just checking out the choreography.
Okay.
Okay.
But then if you continue with the next call and the next call, they'll be half off when they're home. Is that right?
If you're worried about getting them home, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, a lot of these, all I'm worried about is the real corner. I don't care how much promenade is in there. But it just shows where people move relative to each other.
Okay.
Let's go home. Pair off. Excuse me, square through. And let's slide through. I want to start with corner lines here. Not that I have to, but basically I'm going to do Dixie style to a wave. It's from facing couples. But Dixie style to a wave is sweep a quarter to the right and step to a left-handed wave. I see some thinking going on. That's good. Sweep a quarter to your right and step to a left-handed wave. It's a lot easier than moving from here to there and swish and swat. And it helps me mentally see what's going on. If I'm doing mental image, I just know that I'm following this guy here and he goes to here. Sweep a quarter to your right and step to a left-handed wave. I'm trying to square your set here, but that's not working very well. This is one that I kind of like because let's do a head square through, swing through, veer right again, U-turn back, and centers run. Typical two-face lines. So this is couples circulate. Assume, and again, this throws off the orientation, but it gets everybody relative to themselves. Assume the couples are facing out. Assume everybody's facing out and bend the line. You're facing out and bend the line. That's a couple circulate. I like that one. You want to look at it again? We'll see. Whoops. These guys are facing out. So if we did a couple circulate, 1 and 3 are going to be matched up over here with 2. They're going to end up facing out and 2 facing in. Let's go back. Okay, assume couples are facing out and bend the line. Once again, 1 or 3 are matched up with 2. Different way of looking at it. Flutter wheel.
And then for those who need to, they could just shift the 4 dancers from this way to this way. They can just.
It turns out, according to my notes here, and it'll be in the handout, it goes, it flips the square 90 degrees. If it's a right hand two-face line, it goes clockwise. If it's a left hand two-face line, it goes counterclockwise. But the actual movements are the same. Next page. The handout's only one sheet, but I've redone it here so it's big enough so I can read easily, and it turned out to be 8 pages. Ferris wheel is next. Head square through. Swing through, boys run. How did I do
We
that?
can't see the,
drug-
we
you
can't
drug
see the
the
whole,
dance floor.
yeah.
Earthquake.
I did that especially to get feedback from you guys to make you're still awake. Make sure you're still awake. Okay. I did your typical head square through 4, swing through, boys run. I wanted two-face lines that I'm going to do a Ferris wheel from. My words, zoom without adjusting the trailing dancers and slide all forward. Slide all dancers toward the center, rather. So,
What's this call again? What one?
Ferris wheel, but it's got to start in the two-face line, and I forgot to get them there. Is that better? So, on a Ferris wheel, I'm basically, each of these groups is going to do a zoom, but I'm not going to adjust these guys to move up. I'm going to do that. Are we still on screen? No, let's try again. I'm going to move these guys behind them and these guys behind them and slide everybody to the center. Plus 180 degrees for people who are worried about home. Let's look at that again. That's where we were. Side couples facing out, head couples mixed pair facing in, move over to the center of the square. So a Ferris wheel, again, I think it's a little easier to dance this. You move your dolls, and it helps to see what's going on. Each side is going to do a zoom without moving these guys. And then slide everybody to the center. And if you care, turn it 180. We should teach a square of dancers to dance this way. See what happens. That's it for the mainstream group. Let's move on to plus. The first plus one I have is fan the top, but we talked about that. From a wave, turn a quarter. This is one, and if you had a left-handed wave, it would just be, obviously turning in the other direction, the direction that the...
No, I was going to say that's what the dancers would actually do. They scatter.
This is one that might help to understand. I'm going to do a head square through, touch a quarter. On a follow your neighbor, instead of doing lots of moving here, strictly do a single hinge and U-turn back. Hinge and U-turn back. I don't think I hinged some of these right. Yeah, these guys... I don't think I did the hinge right, but let's look at that again. Three, 4, 2, check that they're on screen. Head square through, 4, touch a quarter, I'm just starting it from here because this is the typical place that we do it. And so for follow your neighbor, hinge, which is moving a quarter forward, and then U-turn back. Forward and U-turn back. So basically these two stay together with each other, but slightly different despite going across the square and doing stuff. Even easier to use than that, not easier to use than that, but more frequently done. I'm going to do a head square through, touch a quarter. I'm about to do follow your neighbor and spread. Follow your neighbor and spread is basically cast off 3/4, or as we heard earlier, I was going to say learned earlier, but I'm not sure we learned it, but just cast back 1/4. That's a follow your neighbor and spread. Strictly, let's undo it. Follow your neighbor and spread. Uncast off 1/4. I mean, yeah, cast back 1/4. Easy to see where that takes you. And a singing call right there with the same person. Next page. All right. Normal waves with people here. Okay. Trade the wave. Basically, a trade the wave is you take these. Are we seeing it? Yeah. Take these and exchange it with these, and then everybody do a U-turn back. Trade the wave. Take these two and put them on the other side, and everybody do a U-turn back. Not a biggie, but it's easier than doing this kind of thing. Again, these guys exchange places and do a U-turn back. Trade the wave. Again, we have corner box step to a wave. That's what it's called. So relay the deucey. It's a 0. It's a true 0. To do that, you sort of magically wave your hand over. Unless you're worried about orientation, and then it's 180. So that's a relay the deucey. Spin chain the gears is a technical 0. So if conditions are right, or in mental image lingo, all X's are canceled, then it works equivalently to a 0. But if you actually just want to move your dancers, whatever formation they're in or whatever arrangement, spin chain the gears. Just do a couple circulate. Whoops. Where was I? I didn't do it right.
Yeah, there was a. You might want to go back and reset that one.
That's where we were, right?
Okay.
Corner box step to a wave.
I think so.
So assume the centers are facing the other way and just do a couple circulate. That's a spin chain the gears. Circulate them in the direction that the active guy is facing. And what did we say a shortcut for couple circulate was? Does anybody remember? Basically a unbend the line or bend the line. We should be back where we were. Yeah. So let's go back. Parallel waves. Spin chain the gears is basically centers U-turn back, couple circulate, and centers U-turn back again, but you don't have to do that double U-turn back. And the couples circulate before was just an assume all facing out and bend the line. So that's a spin, chain the gears. Plus, of course, the orientation change. How many of you knew that? I didn't. Let's do it again, and it just takes us right back where we were. Next page. Spin, chain, and exchange the gears. This one's an easy one to dance for your dolls. These two ends were facing in. That's a spin, chain, and exchange the gears. Plus 180. Once again, spin, chain, and exchange the gears. Take the guys that are, the ends that are facing in, doesn't have to be a guy. Exchange them, and that's it. Now tell me that's not a lot easier than moving the dolls. Let's go home.
Couple number two wheel
Geez,
around.
that-
Yeah.
I
There
bet
you
you
go.
if these guys stay spin it better. Just checking to see that you're looking. Okay, head square through. Slide through. Actually, this time I'm going to do a right and left through first, just because I follow it mentally better that way. Touch a quarter. Next time I'll wear transparent hands, right? So there's the column we're going to start it from. So here are my notes on this. It's probably better not to ask, but if you must, it's easier just to do a regular coordinate. But it is kind of interesting. If you assume right-hand column and assuming right-hand columns, number four dancer. That's this one. Does a right loop one. Run without correcting the others. These guys counter rotate a quarter, extend twice, face right, and back up. That looks better. Aren't you glad we know about how to do that? This is one that's very easy. Maybe you guys know it. Let's do a head slide through and right and left through just to get us started here. No. Yeah. No. Did I have them wrong? This is where I wanted them. And did a head start. Basically, on a double pass through track 2. Does everybody know what that does? Does anybody want to? Stephen, tell me what it does.
Yeah, centers pass through and step to a wave.
Yeah, that's it. Centers pass through and step to a wave. Plus 180 if you care. It's an easy way to use track 2 as a module or mental image or what have you, without following all the stuff going on. We're getting there. This is an A1 call, which I used to use a lot just to keep track of what's going on. But A1, if you call heads past the ocean in chain reaction, it's the same as calling heads pair off and swing through. So I would dance through the chain reaction, but I don't remember how to do that. but the equivalent is heads pair off and swing through. Again, swing through, veer right and ends turn back. So if you wanted to use it in a chain, and I think it does a 180 also. Does it? Chain reaction? Yeah. Pretty sure it does. But if you want to use it in a singing call, it's the equivalent to heads past the ocean chain reaction plus 180. Here's an interesting one for A2. It's motivate. Let's do a head square through. Oh, I guess at this level we can do a heads pair off. Step 2, a wave. On a motivate, still on screen? Yeah. On a motivate, these guys come back to the same place. These 4 do a diagonal box circulate. And that's a motivate. So doing it from here, these guys stay here, these do a diagonal box circulate. Pretty simple to see what's going on, or a lot easier to dance than to dance the dolls through. An aside on motivate, when I'm teaching it, I make sure that, I think it's this woman here, the woman facing out, or the center facing out, let's be APD here, has overflow built into the call. She has to go around once and a quarter. Once is borderline, she has to go around once and a quarter in that little spot there. I like to tell them that your instinct is to get out of that little tight circle sooner. Hang in there till the call's over. There's built-in overflow on it. But we won't dance that. And lastly, the pass and roll family. Get home. Boy, these guys have trouble scoring up. Now get back on the dance floor. So I'm going to do a head start through and pass through. Somehow I typically start pass and roll here, but it's not necessary. So pass and roll is strictly the center's right roll to a wave and extend. Do you turn back and get to a wave and extend. Pass and roll, center's right roll to a wave and extend. And the last page. Square your set. Hit star through and pass through. Again, with dolls, it's easier to pass through that way. Pass and roll your neighbor. Everybody just quarter out, or quarter right. That's a pass and roll your neighbor. A lot easier than following all that mess. Let's undo that. Pass and roll your neighbor and spread. Basically touch a quarter. That's where it ends. Pass and roll your neighbor and spread, or touch a quarter. And last but not least, thank goodness. Oh my God, I'm running out of time. I should have ended a long time ago. Let's do it with just the head couples. Touch a quarter. On the call split transfer, which I always have troubles following in my head. It's basically split counter rotate, box counter rotator quarter, and trade. Doesn't that excite all of you? So again, split transfer, box counter rotator quarter, and trade. Easier for the dolls. List is done. A bunch of doll shortcuts.